Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I want to talk about movies just a little bit. I love movies, and I want to talk about them as I relate to the language of gaming. Um, because I run theater of the mind games, very little tactical stuff, not a lot of miniatures on maps. I'd really like to be getting into more of that, especially online stuff with Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds and what have you. But most of what I do is strictly through language, painting pictures and drawing diagrams with my words. A certain amount of common language, common imagery is important there. Um, Not just for set pieces and scenery and characters, but for situations and feelings of stress or tension or whatever a situation calls for. And often referring to media that we are all familiar with in one way, shape, or form, um, movies evoke these feelings and give us these image. And if I can do a callback to those, so much the better. There is a little problem, however, when I am using my language of cinema to enhance my gaming. And that problem is I'm 52 years old. It's not a big problem. I have had a chance to see some amazing movies. And when I was growing up and becoming acquainted with cinema and movies, um, there were five channels on regular TV, a couple of UHF channels, if I was lucky, um, three major networks, a couple of locals, if I was lucky at the time. And a lot of the local channels would run just two or three movies in a row on Saturday and Sunday, fill up some of their time. And that was a great way to just fill my head with stuff. That was all there was to watch. That was all the media there was to consume. I was reading a book or I was watching these classic movies on television. Um, I game with people who are half my age. Now, there have been some amazing movies in recent times that have a lot of evocative imagery and some classic archetypes, and that makes it easier. I can refer to the Lord of the Rings films, the Harry Potter movies, or anything in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I can mention that stuff pretty easily, and that's yeah, like that. I get that recognition. That doesn't cover everything I've got to work with, though. One of my favorite movies of all time, as have come as a surprise to no one who's been watching this channel for any length of time, is The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. 1966, classic Clint Eastwood, best of the High Plains Drifter movies, and perhaps the host of one of the greatest gunfight sequences in history, Fight Me. Um, but you cannot really for so long in my gaming career, I could reasonably rely on the people at the table with me having seen that film. I can say a phrase like Tuco comes out of the desert, and someone understands what I'm saying. The feelings, the character, the events that are evocative there. I get that. I can no longer reasonably rely on the people across the table from me knowing that movie as I do. It's not just that the movies are older. I had five channels. I had very little choice about what media to consume during my upbringing. If I was lucky, I saw a movie in the theater once a month. Um, if I was lucky, and my parents were big moviegoers for the time, so that's not unusual. Wasn't until the 80s when things started happening a bit more often than that, just because of the cinematic output at the time. And when you understand, I had to wait for things to kick up in the 80s, um, you get some idea of uh, what time periods I'm talking about. There is so much media now, so many things people can consume. Social media and memes and YouTube and thousands of channels, movies on demand. People can watch what they want to watch now and are not going to get, maybe aren't going to get that broad experience of cinema that someone who was raised on two local channels showing three movies every day during the weekend might get. Would I ever willingly have watched Two Mules for Sister Sarah if that wasn't what was on Channel 11 at 3 o'clock on Saturday? Oh, no. Um, I love that movie. It's a great film. Doesn't sound like something I'd go out of my way by the title alone, but oh, wait, this is a High Plains Drifter movie? Hell yeah, I'll watch that. Um, Good movie. Two Mules for Sister Sarah. Highly recommended. Um, so if I want to keep using cinematic language with the people at my table, I've got two choices. Or rather, I've got two courses of action. And I recommend using both of these if you are in a similar situation. One, I can keep consuming modern media, which I'm likely to do. Find out what people think they're going to go see. That's a big popular thing. Again, Marvel Cinematic Universe, yeah, the latest fantasy epic to come out. Sure, I'll probably go see that. I saw like the first two Harry Potter movies, and I just not my thing. But Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, I consumed those. Um, some of them with a little more trepidation than others, but I enjoyed them all. Um, Good stuff. Stuff like that comes out, people say, "Oh, I'm going to go see this." I better go see that too. I still need to catch up on. I haven't seen Godzilla King of the Monsters yet. I really need to see Kong versus Godzilla. So I've got some catching up to do. It's been a rough year, but I want to see these things, and keeping up with that gives me a supply of language and imagery I can continue to throw in casual gaming conversation to try and bring the emotional level, the visual level of the games that I'm bringing to the table a little bit more in sync with everyone else. Two, I like having movie nights. Uh, I used to, I mentored a bunch of gamers from Burbank. If any of you are watching, hi guys. Um, and high school kids, when I started gaming with them, uh, long enough ago now that they're all adults. And um, we would have movie nights at my house. My wife, my son, the kids come over. Some of two of their parents would show up to help me wrangle. We'd throw down some sleeping bags, and we'd have giant piles of snacks, and we would watch movies all night long, maybe for a night and a day. Throw a game in there at some point in time, but mostly just to watch the movies. And I'd share the stuff that formed the core of my cinematic language when I'm trying to put stuff out there. A quick list. If you're following along, the core of my cinematic language: Star Wars, um, all of the Star Wars movies. Uh, there are 9 of them. They're not all of equal quality, but I started in the theaters with the first one, and I was going to watch them all. I'll watch anything else that comes out. Um, Going further back, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, obviously. The Court Jester with Danny Kaye. The Great Race. Uh, Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon in one of the greatest period comedies ever made. Zoolander, great movie, especially playing Mage the Awakening. Zoolander, also Mage the Awakening movie. Pootie Tang, great movie for that kind of reference. And if you get those 6-ish, if you get those, then then I can basically convey most stuff I'm going to convey across a gaming table to you. On top of that, any of the classic old Godzilla movies. Oh my gosh. Terror of Mechagodzilla. We were probably watching Terror of Mechagodzilla together. If I can get the version of it that they did on MST3K, so much the better. Some of the movies that I enjoy watching are a little bit more palatable with a man and 2 robots trapped in space watching it with you. Because I also like some bad cinema. Other movies I will watch in these movie nights. The Room, Laser Blast, Hawk the Slayer. Any of these are grist for the mill. So somewhere in that pile of I'm continuously trying to catch up with current media, and I'm bringing other people up to speed with the media that I'm familiar with. That starts to form that wonderful common cultural language, that cultural literacy that I share with the people at my table and in my social groups. It forms a shorthand. I have friends who get really mad when they think about this episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And I kind of do too, different reasons. Darmok. Darmok and Janah, that's Nagra. His arms wide when the walls fell. A race that speaks entirely in metaphor, and for some reason translators can't handle metaphor. One, that race couldn't ever possibly go to space. And 2, you just need to learn the history. It's common language. I actually studied that episode when I was learning theology, because it's a great way to a great lens through which to analyze the book of Revelation. We have a language of metaphor. We develop a language of metaphor. No 2 gaming groups are going to have the same metaphorical language. They're going to have a lot of stuff in common, and the amount of it that comes from movies is kind of impressive. We all know that image of Captain America stepping out to face up against Thanos, all alone. And the moment he hears Sam get in touch with him again, and he gets on your left, and then all the portals start to open, and we all want that feeling in our games. So having that imagery in our head, having that moment that we've shared, Captain America draws Mjolnir. Spoilers. All of this. We get those moments, and we can reach for those emotive moments, and we can inspire that memory in someone else's head because we've shared that. Shared media is shared experience. Shared experience is shared language. I watch a lot of YouTube these days. I don't know if I'd have survived the past year without YouTube. I watch some channels, Neebs Gaming, Linkara Atop the Fourth Wall, some gaming channel, Gray Still Plays, great one, and I will share videos from that in our group chat or on Facebook I'll throw those up every so often. Food channels, and I will use the language from those as well. Shared media is shared experience. Shared experience is shared language. And sharing that language, using the language that those bring up, talking about those experiences that other people have had in games, or those events that we all watched now, that I've thrown that up and we've shared that. Other people throw up their media. I will watch that. Hey, what about this thing over here? This guy making this sword. Or what about doing this kind of dessert? Or hey, these guys were playing Minecraft and did something like what we did. What do you think? All of that feeds in. All of that is shared experience at some point in time because it's shared media. And it takes time outside a game. It's community. At this point in time, I need to mention my gaming communities are my entire communities right now. I have been here for a year and a month, in this chair, basically, between self-isolating and early on last year when I broke my tailbone, and I couldn't be someplace else. I have a lot of walking to catch up on. I have a lot of going out and doing things to catch up on. I got my second dose of Pfizer on Friday. That's going to help a lot. My community has been my gaming communities, and vice versa. Um, all these people are friends. All these people are friends bordering on family, and sometimes that line just gets blurred. My very good friends are my family. And sharing language, sharing media, sharing experiences during this time has been instrumental in the fact that I am still marginally sane, if not arguably sane. But here I am. And sharing media has been a large part of that. If you are trying to get emotional responses at your table, if you're trying to really get people involved, if you want to give people that verisimilitude, that building the pictures in their head, and you want everyone at the table to have that same picture, and you do, you want that everyone's going to walk away with a slightly different picture. You can't stop that. But the more building blocks you have that are common images that everyone does in fact share, uh, the better those stories are going to be, the better that experience is going to be, the more that's going to carry on for years down the line. You want to talk about that game that everyone talks about. 10 years down the line, you had that game once, and people start talking about the stories from it like it was yesterday. This is how you do that. This is one way you absolutely assure that happening. You make sure everyone's got the same picture in their head. So one person picks up the story and the next person remembers exactly what that was and exactly what happened. And that's the magic. That is how the magic happens. Well, thank you for following me along with this particular ramble through concepts. There's my list of movies. If you want to start your own common language with me, if you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there are movies that form part of your common lexicon, or other movies you'd like to hear me discuss, or things you'd like to hear me cover, subjects you'd like to hear me go into, go ahead and leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. I invite you to hit me up at the subscribe button. And if you do, hit the little notification bell too, so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you'd like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial fashion, I invite you to hit me on my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps, allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum, this is What Does Matter to Me, and I'll see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.